on sait les atrocités et ce que ma mère a vécu, c'est l'évidence qu'on ne peut pas pardonner. Moi, vous savez, le 2 novembre 2020, j'ai perdu mon père. Le 2 septembre 2024, j'ai retrouvé un monstre. Nous sommes toujours...
That was the son of a very important figure in France, talking about what they recently discovered about his father. This has been in the news lately, but if you are in Europe, I'm sure you've heard a lot more about this case. And today, the Sassy Ladies are going to tackle it and give our thoughts on the whole ordeal. So, how do you feel about this case, Ariel?
I think this is an interesting, the most interesting, well, let me change my words. The case itself is horrific. It's absolutely horrific what this man did to his wife. Um, but something that I think that this case is going to do will hopefully really help as far as updating the rules and the laws that are listed in France's law books when it comes to the definition of rape. Um, I'm not sure if you know what the current definition is, but right now it's any act of sexual penetration of any kind whatsoever, or any oral genitalia act committed by violence, coercion, threat, or surprise. Apparently, supposedly, it's like without the intention to commit it, there is no rape, and that proof of intent is required. And that, to me, it's kind of mind blowing that France, as a progressive country, that its laws are still seem so archaic when it comes to this specific act of violence.
And this particular case has to do with Dominique Pelicot, who was found guilty of repeatedly drugging and assaulting his wife for almost a decade. And the worst part about this is that the wife, of course, she didn't know because she was drugged, but she knew something was wrong. She had these memory issues. She started to think she was going crazy, and he just let her believe that while he just kept doing this for years and years. And this case has been very touchy for people because it has brought to the forefront what counts as rape. There's still a lot of countries around the world that feel that this wouldn't be sexual assault because they're married. A man has entitlement to his wife's body, and so there's no way a man can sexually assault his own wife. And while France doesn't necessarily take that stance, it does seem that some of those attitudes are lingering in French culture and in French law.
Well, and something I think that's really important to add to this, and I think it is really kind of what's made this case um, so poignant in hopefully helping to change this law, is the fact that it wasn't just Dominique that assaulted his wife. He was drugging her, and he was then inviting strangers. A total of 72 men were found to be on these films that he was making, assaulting his unconscious wife. Um, and I think that when it comes to, I think that had it just been him, unfortunately, and just horrifically, this case probably wouldn't have gotten much of the light of day, right? It probably wouldn't have seen very much coverage because, again, according to French law, it I don't know that it would have qualified as 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 rape. However, him then inviting these strangers to come and assault his wife over and over and over again, to the her, like you said, her not remembering, her not even knowing this was happening to her. It's, I think, the terrifying and horrific nature of his crime, of their combined crimes, I think, is what's done it. And as of Thursday, December 19th of this year, 2024, he, Dominique, and 50 of his co-defendants were found guilty.
And it's important to note because people might feel like, oh, this is some new age crime. Oh, this sin used to happen. This man, Dominique, he is 72 years old.
Mm,
And with the dozens of other men he invited, the youngest one that we know of is currently 22. This is
mhm.
a 50-year age range. And speaking of 50 years, Dominique and his wife were married for 50 years. Who knows how long this was really going on and what could have been happening in the relationship even before this? What led to him thinking this was okay? What led to him even finding these other men and knowing that all of them are interested in this sort of thing? How did these men come into contact with each other? How come no one noticed anything? Where were the red flags? Where was anyone to just speak out about this until recently?
I think that, and my hope for especially for French women, but even men who suffer or who have the misfortune of having to suffer from a crime like this, I'm really hoping that this case will help set a precedent for the laws to change and hopefully a shift in the culture when in viewing this type of assault, in viewing rape as a crime, and starting to shift the culture's paradigm in how it's going to handle this in the future, and give the victims a real fighting chance in getting justice.
And understand that we're not just criticizing France here. We're not saying, oh my God,
No,
look at France. It's such a terrible country, whatever.
not at all. Hmm.
This, unfortunately, is something that's happened across the world. And it's only recently that we've started hearing about multiple cases like this. There was a similar case that happened in Singapore that I'm sure some of you would know from the Ron Mango video that covered a very similar thing that happened.
Hmm.
This is an ongoing issue of men not respecting their wives and seeing their wives as something to show off and parade to their friends, and they get some sort of power trip over, yeah, this is my wife. Look at all the things I can make her do without her even knowing about it. And to look at that wife the next day and think about all the things you did to her and you let someone else do to her while she wasn't even conscious, and to smile and act like everything's okay while she feels like she's losing her mind. That is more than just a spur of the moment thing. That's not someone who just made a mistake. That is a conscious decision that was made over a period of time.
Yeah, it's absolutely diabolical, and I think you're absolutely right. There is a This is a worldwide issue, in that for whatever reason, and this case it's in itself kind of shows that it's not just, third world countries where women have to be careful. It's right here in France. France is a first world country. France is progressive and growing, and it's this birthplace of art and music and its beauty, right? Everyone talks about how beautiful France is, and yet even in France, there seems to be a real lack of concern for women's bodily autonomy, and it's an unfortunate thing for this, and I cannot express enough how upsetting this case following this case was for me. But I really do think that hopefully, at least for France, that this is going to be a shift and a step in the right direction in making this crime, um, as severe for the offenders as it is for the victims, that that justice will be equal to the crime.
And so some of you may be wondering, if it went on for so many years, how was it finally discovered? Well, it wasn't some guy with a guilty conscience who was part of it, who came clean. No, Dominique was caught trying to take pictures of women up their skirts without their permission in public. And that's how he got caught in 2020. So not only does he not have respect for his own wife, he's also going around harassing and who knows what else he may have done to other women.
Yeah, the sad thing is that in the investigation, where they discovered these videos of his poor wife Giselle, they also found pictures of his daughter, Caroline, and she was also unconscious on the bed. They didn't find any videos, but it's like he was crossing many lines, and he had, I don't think he would have ever, I think death would have been the end of that had it not come to light.
And going back to Giselle, a horrifying aspect of this that people don't seem to be talking about much is that she was drugged with powerful tranquilizers put in her food, in her coffee, in her drinks. That could have killed her. It could have caused lasting damage. It could have caused brain damage, physical impairments. She could have had horrific consequences of just being drugged for so long.
Yeah, it should be noted that Giselle is also 72. So she is not um she's not got the, a young woman's body. Her continence can't handle, not that any woman's body should be able to handle any kind of tranquilizer, but that's a very important point I think to bring to light, is that he could have killed her. um, which unfortunately makes you wonder, back to your earlier point, is like, how long was he doing this? Like, it seemed like he clearly got it down to a science that you wonder, and I haven't looked much into the case, but you wonder how far back he 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 was doing this to her, how far back her memory lapses, when her memory lapses started for her, and what he was trying and what he was doing and what he was doing to her before he started filming, and before he started, they were married in 1973, and so you wonder, it's just over the course of what what 60 years, 70 years, you wonder, like, sorry,
50.
50 years, 50 years, you wonder in the course of 50 years, like, what else was he doing to her? Like, what else was he doing to anybody for him to finally get it to the point where he was so bold and so confidently inviting these men to visit his wife?
And where did this idea come from? Did he think of this all himself? Was he part of some weird group where they taught him how to do this and how to get away with it, not get caught, not to let the wife feel like anything's going on? Where did this come from? Did he have this fantasy since he was a child? Did he do this with other people before he married his wife? This had to have stemmed from somewhere. And all the other people he got in contact with, over 72 people, over the course of, as far as we know, just a little less than a decade, that is a lot. That
Yeah.
is over 7 men per year. So
It's
unfortunately, they're still not sure if they have all the suspects. And many of the suspects are, of course, pleading not guilty and trying to fight it. Um, so there's a very good chance that true justice will not be had here. Some people most likely will get away, and even if somehow they managed to catch everyone who was physically there, there's still pictures and videos of her that were no doubt shared without her consent to other people. There might be some sketchy online site where she's there, just plastered for everyone's enjoyment, and people have no idea.
There are, they did confirm that 50 men have been sentenced, but there were 72 men that were filmed, and it's just, it's heartbreaking. My heart goes to out to Giselle. My heart goes out to their shared children. who had to meet, as it stated, as we watched the video, we watched Desi comment about how they met a monster. Today they lost their father and met a monster.
And the worst part is, I doubt the father really cares that much, especially about what the daughter thinks, because she was one of his victims too. He was willing to kill his wife, willing to violate his own child. He doesn't care what they think.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And for him, he's 72. He Whatever sentence he's given, he's not going to live it out. It, for him, he won. He got 10 years of his sick enjoyment. He got what he wanted. Um, and unfortunately, this isn't a one-time occurrence. This isn't just this one specific case in France, this one specific case in Singapore. It's a network of people. It's somehow these men just find each other, and it's the strangest thing. Is it that they just sniff each other out? They just recognize their own sick fantasies in someone else. And they're the only ones who have that ability to see the other people with their sick mind. But they're never going to turn in their friends. They're never going to turn in the other people like them. And so the only way we can find them is after they do something. And unfortunately, at that point, it's too late to save the person who gets harmed.
Yes. If you guys are interested at all in helping this case, or at least contributing any kind of assistance towards this in France, the Pelicot's daughter, Caroline, she started and established a nonprofit organization back in 2022. It's called Mendorpa, or Don't Sedate Me, and it is to raise awareness for drugs facilitated sexual assault. Look it up, donate if you have the ability to, do some research on it, see what the organization is doing there. But I can confirm that, again, as of December 19th of 2024, Pelicot Dominique is sentenced to 20 years. But who knows how much of that he will actually have to serve before he meets his final days.
And the link to that foundation will be in the description, along with a link to the video that we just played a clip of. If you have any other topics you would like us to discuss, please absolutely let us know. Just leave a comment, and we will definitely take that into consideration for a future Sassy Ladies podcast episode. This one was definitely a heavier topic today, but if you want us to cover a lighter topic, we can do that as well. Just give us your suggestions and we'll give you our thoughts in return. So, have any closing statements, Ariel?
No, like you said, this one is definitely heavier, and it does bring to light just even the small, how important being clear is when it comes to, for lawmakers to be clear when it comes to writing these laws, in order for justice to be served. And it's unfortunate that laws that really go to help, where the majority of the victims are women, that they just kind of are like glossed over, and it's like, oh well, if he didn't intend to assault you, then then did he really assault you? Excuse me. But hopefully we will see a shift in this, in the coming years and decades. Yeah, my heart goes out to them.
And with that, we hope to see you in the next Sassy Ladies podcast episode. I'm your local alien.
And I am Ariel.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.